Good morning. I want to talk about something that's difficult to discuss, but I think it's really important to spread this message because it's not something I was really aware of until I was aware. so, I talk about narcissism a lot, and I know that's a touchy subject. So, to define what a narcissist is, it's someone who is emotionally unavailable, or crippled emotionally because somebody has hurt them so much that they couldn't really make sense of their emotions. So all they can do is watch and mock other people to kind of fit in with society. But when it boils down to it, they can't feel those emotions the same as other people that aren't hurt. And these people are more self-serving in the sense that they'll do whatever they want, however they want. Very selfish. Don't care if it's going to hurt you or not. And they put on a big show for everyone around them. They won't ever really let anyone know that they're abusive or that they're manipulative until those people start catching on to their behavior. So then they kind of have more targets at this point. So the warning I want to give you is this behavior is learned. So therefore it's contagious. And especially with kids, that are raised by narcissistic parents, um, your kids will start even manipulating you at some point when they feel like you are weaker or they're more empowered. Excuse me. They're going to start doing certain things to your face behind your back, twisting stories, saying things, and then saying, I didn't say that. And you have to kind of deal with this in a different way than you would an adult. Because, for one, they've learned this behavior. So, if they've learned this behavior, you can help them unlearn this behavior. And it's going to be work to do this, but it's worth doing this for your children because they deserve to feel emotion and have a happy life and goals and dreams without having to manipulate people and be stuck in a karmic cycle. So, like I said, it's a tough topic and it's something that I'm personally dealing with my son, who basically, my son was abused more by his father than my daughter was. So, my my ex abused my son. And on the backside, to feel that power and that strength as a little boy, he abused his sister. So when I took the ex out of the situation, now my son stepped into the role of becoming the new predator. And the hard part is dealing with a younger, less calculated version. So he messes up in his manipulation tactics a lot more. And like I said, it's really hard as a parent because I'm watching her go through what I went through and having to learn how to intervene and interact on a level that doesn't destroy my son and helps him overcome the learned behavior and allows both of them to heal. So I've been trying to remind my son that when you get people to do what you want out of fear or aggression, the only result you're getting is going to be temporary until that person leaves you. So this is a lesson a lot of narcissists do not learn because they will break their victim down so much and put them in a state of paralysis that this person can no longer think and function on a level that allows them to interact with society. So like I said, when it comes to a child, it's a lot different because there's this ability to still try to work with them and help them to understand that they do have value, that no matter what anyone says about them doesn't change who they are as a person, that their character, what they do when people aren't looking, is the thing that matters the most. That just because you have a sense of power doesn't mean you're powerful. So it's a very fine line between almost accepting their behavior and explaining their behavior until you can try to break that behavior, and making sure not to become aggressive. And the fine line I'm talking about is where you actually put yourself in the narcissist's shoes and you become the aggressor. And that side of it is what will destroy them. If you have to stand up and start putting your hands on them like they do other people, if they are manipulative and you start manipulating them, if you start practicing their behavior to prove a point, you're only validating their behavior. So it's not going to change anything. It's actually going to empower them in a sense that they think that what they're doing is good and it should be allowed. So when you want to help a child that's been raised by a narcissist, it's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take a lot of love, unconditional love. It's going to take a lot of acceptance of them for who they are and helping them grow to become a better version of themselves. And I have always taught them that you shouldn't compete with other people. You should only compete with yourself to become better than you were yesterday. Well, he came into my work and started talking to me, saying that he's his own worst enemy. And I said, why is that? And he said, because if I'm my own worst enemy, then I can get better. You got to be hard on yourself. And I said, no, that's not how it works. You need to love yourself and be forgiving of yourself, and then focus on the things that you're doing to try to better yourself. And yes, you're right, only be in competition with yourself, because you don't need to be in competition with the world. But the way I explained to him is not the way that his little brain took it. I don't mean little brain, I mean young, not yet matured mind. So the way that he took it was he needs to beat himself up in order to be better. Now, that understanding comes from the concept that that is how he was raised by his father. So it's really hard to build a bridge and mediate this thought process to help him overcome the concept that putting fear into people will give him power. And that's actually a state of mind that's a warring aspect in life rather than a loving concept. So I know that most of the world probably sees life as my son explained it to me. And it's funny that a child can say things to us for us to understand where maybe our teachings are a little bit off, or maybe their misconception is misguiding them. And we need to communicate better as parents to our children. We need to be better leaders for them to understand that they don't have to be abusive or aggressive. Now, that means as adults, we too have to change our behaviors, because all of us have been hurt. A lot of us are still being hurt behind closed doors in private, where nobody knows of what's going on. So, like I told my daughter when she came to me, thank you for telling me this, because it takes a lot of courage to speak up. I didn't do it for 16 years. I allowed that person to put me so far down that death was the best option that I could consider in my life. So to help my child, I had to stand behind her and help her face her aggressor head on. Now understand, when I did this with her, she turned around and became aggressive and started poking at him and making comments and thinking she had the upper hand. And I had to explain to her look at what you're doing. Because on this aspect, you were just coming to me, telling me he's abusing me. And then when he gets called out on it, you feel empowered to speak up and say, oh, now just call out every little action that he's doing and poking the beast, trying to get him to explode. And I had to help her understand that you pick your battles in life. And these are lessons I've tried to teach them so much. And it's funny how it just, everything was brought to my attention of this fallacy of thinking, of how there's always this power struggle between, it can be children and their parents, spouses, teachers and students. It doesn't matter. It is a struggle always between two people. One doesn't want to be lesser, and one always wants to be more. And this fluctuates. None of us want to feel weak. I understand this. But being compassionate, loving, and kind is not a weakness. This is one of the greatest strengths that a human has to offer. And for the longest time, my son told me that your kindness is a weakness. And I said, oh, son, don't get it wrong. You're getting it twisted. Kindness and love is the strongest of all things, because it's easy to lash out. It's easy to hit somebody. It's easy to tear them down and make them feel like they're less than you, so you don't have to try. Now, when it comes to being a loving person, you put yourself to the side. You encourage others. You don't compete with others. So there's somewhere in the teachings of what our predecessors have taught us that is incorrect. And it's time that we as human beings get back to the real concept of thinking with an open heart, a compassionate mind, a forgiving spirit. Because where we're at right now, we have taught and been taught to be abusive or be abused. So when it comes down to it, it's a tough battle. Don't get me wrong. And it takes a lot of courage to walk away from the person that is making you feel less than. But like I had to remind my daughter last night, no one can make you feel any way. You are allowing someone to treat you a certain way because you're allowing them to affect your thought process. You're allowing them to take away your power by telling you that you're stupid and you believing them. And I've told them for years, nobody knows what's in your mind or your heart but you. So when it comes down to it, someone else's opinion, let them have their opinion. We all have the right to our own opinion. Now, you don't have to stand around and tolerate the behavior. Have your opinion, but have it over there away from me. It's very simple, because when it comes down to it, the only way a person can be manipulative is if we allow them to manipulate us. And that is, in a sense, that you don't know your own worth. And I will tell you that your worth is way more than you were taught to give yourself credit for. The love that you embody that's all around you is so much more than you've ever felt, because you're looking for it from an outside source, from another human being, a pet, a job. You don't have to be praised to be something of high value. So understand, when you take away looking for other people's approval, now you give that approval to yourself, you're unshakable. You get to a point where nobody is going to trip you up while you're on your journey. No matter if you're walking or running, you can move faster by putting other people's concepts of you to the wayside. Do not worry about whatever anyone else has to say about your life, because they're not walking in your shoes. They do not know your burdens. They do not know what goes through your head. They don't know anything about you other than what you're willing to reveal about yourself. And honestly, most people are living a lie right now. You can go on any social media account and look at the stories people are willing to show you. And then if you were a fly on the wall, you would see a totally different concept of the way that they're truly living. And honestly, when it comes down to people that are being abused and manipulated, you're the greatest actors of the world. Because not only can you hide it, and I'm saying this from experience, I once was the greatest actress that anybody knew. They could, everyone thought that my life was so magical that just everything was all together. And nobody knew behind closed doors that my head was being banged into sheetrock, or I was being choked out or punched and abused. Nobody knew it. I didn't allow it. And then when I did start opening up, they couldn't believe it, because this can fool the world. It did. And it fooled me. And I had to learn. And it's funny because the person that taught me this was the one that abused me. The worst person to lie to is yourself. And those words went in my head, but never made sense until I actually got away from him. So when I got away from him, I started hearing the things that he told me. And I started applying them in a different way because I could rationalize all the things he had said. And it's almost like the devil had possessed him and he lived a certain way. And periodically he would come to the surface and he would give me ways to escape. Like I said, very strange. I lived a very surreal life for a very long time. When I was asleep and dreaming, it was a world that seemed real. And when I was awake and living, it seemed like I was living in a dream or a nightmare. It just depended on the day. And like I had to point out to somebody the other day, because they were like, oh, he's an asshole. And I said, you have to understand, I didn't stay for 16 years because he was just this tyrant. Because when it comes down to a narcissist, they have that charisma, that charm about them that you can feel so loved. You can feel capable. But then when they see that they're helping you to grow, all of a sudden, no, I'm here to stop you. You can't surpass me, because they can't go beyond a certain point. It's like there's been a brick wall that's been created in their life. And that is early childhood trauma. That is neglect. That is abandonment. That is something that happened to them from somebody that they loved and trusted. And when we get hurt by someone that we loved and trusted, that is the most heartbreaking point in our life that can stop us from wanting to live. And believe me, 16 years, and then to find out it was all a charade and I was dancing with the devil, my mind was in a spin for a long time of, how did I not see it? How did I allow it? What does this mean? I'm worthless. Oh my God, I'm stupid. I can't even trust myself. I went through so many emotions. I died on a spiritual level I don't know how many times. I gave up physically because I didn't trust myself enough to embrace the fact that I had allowed that. And I had allowed that because of fear. So please understand that if you're going through these moments right now, you're not stupid. You are not broken. You can trust yourself. Because I remember I would pray, how do I fix this? How do I fix my marriage? What do I need to do? Give me a way to understand what I need to do. And the only message I would get was get out. And I would say, no, I need another option. Get out. No. And this went on for years. I mean, half a decade. I'm praying for guidance. What do I do? Get out. No. And just battling with my higher self of, I need a better, hold on. Okay, so I got to leave it on that note because I have things I have to tend to. So hopefully you got something out of it. Sorry to cut it short, and love and light. Bye-bye.